Hello, everyone. You are listening to The Success Palette, a place to discuss everything that you are not taught in school about how to be successful in the arts. I'm your host, Soda, and today we are going to talk about how to step outside of your comfort zone and create your own community, create your own niche. Look outside of the box. That's exactly what my guest today did, Shirley Li. And I love her story of how she brought her different passions together, how she really grew in the visual arts community and created her own new unique community that wasn't there before. And Shirley, I know that you dabbled a little bit in art in high school, but you don't really have any formal training. Can you talk about your journey of how you got to where you are today?
Yes, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Shirley. And yeah, I never went to art school in college. The only art training I had was my 4 years of art classes in high school. I mean, I've always liked art and people told me that I had talent. Um, but I didn't pursue that as my career because of, I guess my dad told me that it's better to get into more business oriented and you might become a starving artist. So then yeah, I think that it did influence me into going against my talent, and I went into IT instead. And then after getting married and having kids, it was really hard to do any kind of art, but I did try to do a little bit of it by just doing making personal cards for my friends, and that did help me to keep the art side of me alive. And then fast forward 5 years ago, we adopted our youngest daughter from China. And then since then, we were plugged into this Chinese adoption Facebook group, and that became how I started my rekindling my art. So I am bilingual. I can speak, read, Chinese, and obviously English. So then on that Facebook group, people started asking about, can someone translate this phrase? Then, being there as community and, of course I'm bilingual, I was able to help translate, for the adoptive families. And then so I started translating videos and documents as a side business for a little while. And then 3 years ago, one of the adoptive moms whom I did a translation for just one day messaged me. I did her translation for like, I don't know, in January, like 3 years ago. And then in October that same year, she just all of a sudden messaged me and asked if I'm an artist and wanted me to design a phoenix tattoo with her son's Chinese name on it. And I was like thinking, wow, what an opportunity for me to jump back into art. It was really scary because I haven't done it in such a long time, and I wasn't really sure, what if I messed it up? Like, I'm not professionally trained, but it was exciting because, here's an opportunity that I could add that as part of my translation service because it makes sense. So I'd accepted that first commission. I didn't even know that was called a commission until I accepted it. So ever since I accepted that first commission, I was booked for months for like the next 2 years. My name got around that community. Um, everyone liked what I did, and because it resonated with, their adopted children, and it was really important for them that they have a keepsake for their Chinese children. So I felt like, I was using both my art and my heritage to bless that community. And the main pieces I've done were zodiac animals, dragons, and phoenixes in both realistic and tattoo styles. I am very grateful for that first piece because I was able to develop that tattoo style as my own. started looking around at, different tattoo styles online, but then I didn't want it to look like what people have. So I just kind of started developing that as my own style, and it became really popular with the adoptive community because
I
then
think that's
people
so
getting,
cool that you don't have any training in tattoo art because it's a very specific kind of art. And the way that you learned from the masters and then developed your own style, like, I think that is so amazing, and the fact that you were doing it to help others in your community, I think that's so beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, and even like doing the dragons, because I did the realistic dragons too. And I mean, I've always loved drawing animals because I just love the details. But dragon was actually the first time I've done it. So I had to, look at reference pictures to draw them. But then I didn't want it to look like just copying off reference pictures. So after a few times, I was trying to just not look at any and just from memory, trying to develop my own unique dragon head and, different kinds of scales and, making it into a fire dragon or a sea dragon. Yeah, like with my unique, touch. And it was really exciting because, this is something that is of my culture and something that's relatable to the adoptive families.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then
after,
everyone started wanting stuff from you right at that point. You built kind of a wait list a bit from what I understand of people
oh
wanting
yeah,
wanting your specific artwork.
yeah, because I asked like people to just, if you can post on because I'm not supposed to promote myself on that Facebook group, right? So I'm always very respectful and careful with that. But they're okay with like, if an adoptive family choose to share, then they could, and that's how my name gets, like even today, they would just keep like, oh, if anyone needs any translation, you can contact Shirley, even though it's not as it doesn't happen as often, but I've built my name on that community in that community.
Yeah, and I think that that's so important because a lot of artists and musicians and writers, they end up just marketing to other artists, musicians, and writers instead of really finding a genuine purpose that they love and then sharing their talents with that community. I think that that's the best way to learn and grow. And I know that things got a little bit tricky with some of the changes in the adoption program and COVID. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you kind of went about all of that?
Yeah, so yeah, things were going really well. I was getting a lot of orders, but then when COVID hit, then China decided to shut their door, for 2, 3 years, and for the adoption program. So then pretty much all the waiting families were put on halt. So I wasn't getting any orders at all. So then I used that time to, instead of just doing nothing, I used that time to polish up my art skills. I started to paint. I bought watercolor paint, and it is a medium that I didn't really like when I was in high school, even though my art teacher thought I did well, but I never really enjoyed as much because I am more of a perfectionist and control artist, as my teacher used to call me. So I'm used to like doing a lot of details, like with color pencils and graphite. And so watercolor to me, it's a very, unpredictable medium. And I feel like I always try to control where the colors go, where the water flows. So it was really hard. It was my least favorite medium to use. But then I wanted to try something new. So then I started watching YouTube videos on and just kind of refresh my memory of how and some of the techniques work and just experiment with some pieces. And then one thing led to another. I after I get, accustomed to the medium again, I started to offer custom art with watercolor, and I was able to offer a new subject to my adoptive families. Actually, I was able to offer flowers in watercolor because after a year and a half of doing zodiac animals and dragons and stuff, I was actually wanted to change to different subjects. I was like, I love doing them, but I felt
There's
like
only
I
so
wasn't
many dragons
growing.
you could do, right?
Yeah, seriously, if you look at my portfolio, you can see like how many dragons I've done. Um, and so then I started suggesting to them, well, there are other things other than dragon and phoenixes that's unique about the Chinese heritage, right? And there's like flowers that have meanings to each adopted child's city. So I started recommending maybe if you don't want to do a zodiac animal or dragon, you can find something, a flower that's meaningful or for your child. And even landscape so that I can paint other subjects. So then, yeah, so that was another wave of a different, it's like, so then I got tons of flowers. So that was just I was like able to expand my portfolio that way.
Yeah, and then, as you expand your portfolio, you expand your clientele, you expand your what you're really good at, and I'd love to hear about some of the other ways that you've expanded in addition to the tattoo art. I know you tried a few different things, right?
Yeah, last summer I had some free time with my kids. Um I had some free time last summer and then my kids were asking me to draw for them since I've been only drawing for other people. They were complaining, you've done all this artwork for other people. What about us? So then, so my son requested me to draw our pet puppy. And I mean, I've drawn animals before, but I never draw a pet portrait before. Um, so especially it has like our dog has a lot of fur and curly fur, like long curly fur, which is and it's white mostly. So it was really a challenge for me as a my first pet portrait. So then I started watching YouTube videos and did research. And then I came across some tutorials about how to lay color pencils and how to do different fur textures. And I got very interested in this whole new way of doing, animals. I was like, oh, I didn't know this is how it could be done. And then I found this whole area about pet portraits. Um, and then I thought, well, maybe I can, get into pet portraits because everyone loves their pets, and I'm a pet owner, so that's relatable. And yeah, so then in order for me to get more practice though, because I've only done our dog and I couldn't really, I mean, I could dig up reference pictures, from the web and try to draw a few more as practice. But I think it's better if I were to start venturing into this as another side hustle, then I need real clients. So
Yeah, if you're
then
gonna be
I asked,
practicing, might as well be helping other people, right? And making them
yeah,
excited.
yeah, exactly. So then I started offering 3 free portraits to my neighbors. And, I just offer like, it was fun because I just, I just told them I'm doing this new thing and I want to add pet portraits to my portfolio, anyone interested. And I got tons of submissions and I drew the winners, the 3 winners. And yeah, so then I was able to use, my dog and 3 other pet portraits as my portfolio to start with. And it was really helpful because I felt like every portrait that I did for my neighbors, I was able to really improve my skill and my technique doing pet portraits. Different fur, different, animal, like a cat and a dog are different, So yeah, so that was really helpful to start offering free stuff. Although my husband told me I shouldn't keep offering free things, but I disagree with him. I said, well, I think this is a really great way to learn, because you don't have much experience in a new medium, a new technique, and by offering free things, I think you can win both ways, right? You are offering something free to people, and you are receiving a lot of feedback from them as well. And then at the same time, you're building up your reputation. So I think they're all really positive things to offer free things.
I think of it
It's not as
more of
bad.
an
Yeah.
exchange than giving things for free, because if you're getting something in return, then it's not necessarily just giving it for free, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah.
You're
And they're
getting
also
feedback,
happy.
and those people probably helped promote you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they all know now, I guess, in my neighborhood that, I can do that if they want to come to me. And one of the other neighbors did, I ended up doing, another like a portrait for them too. So then after that, I had to think of ways to advertise my new pet portrait service. So the first place I went to was our dog's grooming place, and they were just so nice. They and a lot of and we have to know that a lot of these places, small businesses, like they actually support local artists. They are very supportive of local artists, and I was glad to find that out. I mean, as soon as I asked, like, oh, of course, no problem. And the receptionist was my first client from that place. And it was just amazing.
And
So,
was
like,
this your
having that local
dog
community.
groomer?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you knew them already. So it
Yes.
wasn't as scary for you to kind of go up and be like, "Hey, are you interested in art?" So that's a great place to start if you're kind of nervous and want to go out of your way to make a new business connection. So, yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, but it was still because I did find it a little easier because I'm already their customer. I feel like I'm not just going in to do this for, like without any like offer for them. So it was, yeah, I felt better. And then since then, I got more courage to get myself out there. If I were to do this, I need to get out of my comfort zone. Because honestly, I know for a lot of artists, this is the part that we dread the most is promoting ourselves. We can do the artwork, no problem, but like, how do we get ourselves out there with social media, with, the physical, like, maybe going to do art fairs and, just or putting up flyers. Those are really a lot of that business side of things that I really don't enjoy, but I know I must do if I were to do this. Um, yeah, so then I started asking even animal rescue centers, and I offer them free portraits at a raffle price. And I did get a couple of responses, and I'm about to start on one piece, my first piece for one of the winners, very soon. I also started contacting local pet stores to see if I can put my flyers there. And then one particular store actually was so kind and even invited me to put a table at this store. This coming Saturday, I'm going to put up a table at one of
How
a local pet stores
fun.
for the whole day.
And
Like, they just told me, like, yeah, you can stay for as long as you want.
that's so cool. And do you have any tips on how you were able to kind of get past that fear? Because I know a lot of us as creatives, again, like how you said, we are terrified of really going to these new places and thinking outside of the box of how we can promote our work besides social media. How did you really think to go to these places and do these raffles and get the courage to do so?
It's really important to get connected to the like I got plugged into the pet portrait Facebook groups and I have asked for advice like how, you know, other professionals have done it. And I got tips from them. And then after this, I have been passing this tip to other people who have like can I boost commissions? And the art community is very supportive. And even though like we are pet portrait artists, people are very willing and open to share these tips with you. You can, yeah. So I got this setting up table at a pet store idea also from one of the other pet portrait artists. So like, don't be afraid to ask other people. They're not like, I think we might think, oh, they're not gonna want to share their trade secrets, but they do because, I mean, first of all, like, what are the chances they're like locally, they might not
Exactly,
live right
yeah.
next to you. They're all over the place, and everyone's got their own style. So if a client wants your style, they're gonna want you, to be their artist. So like we can't think about we are just competitors. We have to think about we are there to help each other.
Yeah, collaboration over competition. One of my favorite
Hmm.
sayings. So most of your collaborations and the way that you learned, it sounds like was from both Facebook and YouTube, right?
Not collaboration on YouTube, but more just
The
learning
tutorials
from
of
YouTube,
learning and stuff.
tutorials and stuff, but collaborations and ideas and just getting tips from the business side of things. Like even when I started learning how to price my portraits, I had no idea how do I do that. Because with my other custom art, it was like hourly, but I'm like, with pet portraits, it would take hours longer, and I cannot charge people that. So then, I asked the experts who have done it for many years, and they told me, "Oh, this is how you should price." And so all this I'm getting from other artists too.
And I know in addition to doing these in-shop, art shares and these kind of mini galleries and raffles and such, you also sell some of your art online, mostly on Etsy, right? Can you talk a little bit about how it was like transitioning to doing a lot of your online work in shops?
Yeah, this happened last fall as yeah, I was going into so many different directions. Um, but at the same time, I was thinking, well, how, I love commissions, right? But at the same time, I was thinking, commissions has its limits. Like I can't, I mean, I have to stick to certain rules or certain, yeah, certain rules that my client gives me, like, color schemes and, how exactly they want things done. So then I don't have the freedom to create as much as I want to. So that's why I wanted to start my Etsy shop. I was thinking that I can sell what I want to draw or paint on my Etsy shop. And so I had a bunch of greeting cards that I've created, I painted for our neighborhood fall fest. And I started scanning those in and as my first stock for my shop. And then from there, I was able to connect with this like a third party merchandise fulfillment service, and I was able to put my art design on other merchandise like mugs, t-shirts, and like mouse pads even. So that really opened up my horizon and like, oh wow, this is see my art on t-shirt. Like my friends bought t-shirts with my sunflower painting on it and like on a mug. And I was like, wow, this is something totally different. That I seeing your own art on everyday, like products like that. And that's also exciting for me. Um, but the design aspect of it is difficult because like doing art on paper and then trying to design, how it would look on a t-shirt, how it would look on a mug. That's a new learning curve for me. I realized that, oh, just because you want a unique angle on paper, it doesn't always work on a product. Like you can't cut off a certain part of, say, a flower. It won't look good on a t-shirt. It has to have the whole picture. So I've learned, a few lessons when I opened my Etsy shop about design perspective that I didn't know before.
Yeah, because it's just such a different medium because it's almost more ventures into advertisement rather than fine art when it comes to merchandise. I was curious how you were able to still keep your passion with art and your love for helping others and showing your Chinese culture, but not but still be able to be productive and finding that balance between being a business person and also being a true artist and putting soul into your work.
I think it's like I can't think business first. I have to think, well, this is like I have a list of ideas of what I want to do, and most of those ideas are related to my culture. I want to do like a series of Chinese landscapes, like the Starbucks travel mugs, kind of like, one Chinese city on a, per mug. That's one of my dream project I want to do. Um, and like, Chinese cuisine. I want to do that someday. I haven't had the time, but like all this, I'm still very passionate about. Or even Chinese characters on, as part of my art. So that is always like my priority. And then designing the merchandise is always secondary. So I need to always focus on that.
Yeah, I like that you're able to focus on your art, but still accept that you need to learn at least the basics of the business. Do you have any stories of a piece that you made that really impacted someone, whether it was in your adoption group or with your pet work?
I think there was one particular piece. It was a landscape piece, for the adoption group. This family's son, he was an older adoptee, and so he remembered a lot more about his city than, some of the younger adoptees. So then he wanted to remember um, where he came from. And so they were very particular about, like, he remember, like, they were like the street foods, from his city. And he remember uh, like flower carts and like, like all these different street scenes from where he's from. But at the same time, he wanted to, he visited some more modern places in China. So he wanted to mix the two together. So that was a very unique piece I did where I mix like the modern China with kind of like almost like the old Shanghai streets of China. So it was a really big piece. It was 11 by 15. It was all done in color pencil with a lot of details of the streets and people. It was challenging. It took me like 20 hours, I think, total to do that one. But it was really cool because his mom wanted me to put his name as part of a skewer store name. So I was trying to be creative and blend that into, the piece. And it's like, here's your son's name. It's part of the shop. And then even a lot of other pieces I've done, they asked me to hide their child's name in the piece in Chinese, and they have to hunt for it. So, yeah, so those were like really fun pieces like that I've done.
I love hearing these stories of how art and creative expression can really impact someone else. And I know that you are having some stuff going on for the holidays. Do you want to explain a little bit about that before we kind of wrap up with my last question?
Oh, yeah. So right now I'm having a kind of Christmas promotion for my pet portrait service. So from now until like end of December, I'm offering 10% discount for anyone who's interested in getting a pet portrait done. I don't have that many spots left, but the discount will still apply even if it's for after Christmas.
Perfect. So, yes, definitely. Where can we find you on social media, on your shop? Can you give, I'm also going to have that in the show notes, but if you want to give a shout out to any of those.
Yeah, I am on Facebook. It's called Shirley Li Art and Pet Portraits. That's my Facebook page, and I do a lot of the updates on there. And I do have a website, which is my portfolio. If anyone wants to see my portfolio, it's just shirleyleeart.com.
Perfect. And again, I will also put those down below. And I'd love to hear any tips and advice you have for anyone who feels that they they want to share their creativity, but they don't know where to go or how to get clients or how to find where they belong in the art community and their niche.
I think like I got rejected at a few places when I put up those flyers. I went to the mall and I asked this puppy store and they said no. And I got rejected, a few times and I have to just quickly shake that off. So like don't be afraid to get rejected when you have to go out there and ask in person. Of course, online it's a little easier. You say, okay, I just, don't worry about it. But I would start with joining Facebook groups that there are a lot of art groups out there, like for specific mediums, like watercolor, color pencil, and ask for advice, like ask for feedback. Um, and then don't be afraid to ask, how can I put myself out there? Because I heard all this from other experts too. And as far as finding like your own style and stuff, that just takes time. To me, the most important thing is developing my own style because I do see a lot of similar styles out there, and I don't want to be just like everyone else. So I try very hard to, while I'm learning from others, that I want people to see my piece of art and just say, okay, I see Shirley's signature. And yeah, so I think it's important to stay with your own style and not worry about, well, but it doesn't look like, other artists.
Oh, I love when I find an artist who has such a unique style. Thank you again, Shirley. I love your story, and I know that it will inspire many others who listen. Did you have any last closing thoughts you wanted to mention before we end for tonight?
I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my story. And yeah, it was a pleasure just talking with you.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I hope that we are able to talk again soon. Thank you again. Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of The Success Palette. Head over to thesuccesspalette.com for all of our social media links and some additional interviews over on YouTube. And please make it a successful week.